Hi, I'm Rachel King. Welcome to my channel. This week's video is a follow-up to a previous video about Liberty's 150-year anniversary and their new collection for Spring/Summer 25, Retold. I asked you during that video to tell me which ones were your favourite prints, and I said I would feature them. And although I originally was going to tag it onto the end of one of my main Sunday videos, I felt it would be nice to do a video in its own right. So this is this week's midweek video, so let's begin. So Liberty's collection for Spring/Summer 25 is called Retold, and it's a 150-year theatrical spectacular, and it celebrates their 150th anniversary, obviously. It's in 4 sections: the stage, the cast, the audience, and the next act. So I have to read from my notes here. The stage is in fact the store. The cast, past creators, the audience, the customer, the next act is the next generation of designers. So let us start with the stage act. And this is quite an appropriate print that I am going to start with, called Archive Patchwork. It's basically a patchwork print, and it features 57 designs. It's a commemorative pattern, really, I suppose, and it's got traditional paisleys. It's got, you know, the sort of typical florals that you get from Liberty, and a few sort of smaller modern geometric prints. And somebody really cleverly, because I did feature this briefly in my previous video, did suggest that you could actually quilt this. So it's ready-made patchwork, and it would make a nice quilted jacket. If you've seen one of my previous videos also about quilted jackets, I'll link that below. Yeah, so I thought that was a good one to start with. So that is Archive Patchwork, part of the stage act. Okay, moving on to costume. Okay, this is an original 1930s design, and it's really quite simple but really beautiful. And they are simplified outlines of peonies and chrysanthemums with a slightly off-white motif on pink, green, or lemon grounds. Really, really beautiful. Then moving on to something completely different, and this is also part of the stage act, and this design is called Treasure Chest. It catches the symmetry and sophistication of Archibald Knox's artistic vision, and he was a designer who designed pewter and precious metal objects for Liberty. And you can see here in my infographic, I've included a picture of a candlestick, and you can see the sort of detailed sinuous sort of lines of his designs, and it's kind of very much echoed in this print, and I really like it. It's really something quite different for Liberty. I can imagine it in a silky print. It's a little bit like a homemade scarf, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I particularly like this, and something really, really quite different, I think. Okay, so moving on to the cast act. Okay, the first one I'm going to talk about is called Godwin, and it is in fact a stylised blossom floral, and it's inspired by fabric created by E.W. Godwin, who was head of Liberty's clothing department in the 1880s, and it's a very pretty, very beautiful detailed print. These slightly circular, when you look at the images I've put on the right, which is the whole print, I believe, over the width of the fabric, you can see the circular repeat motif that's made up of all these tiny, well, quite small florals. Really, really beautiful. Okay, again for the cast act, this print is called Marinas Bouquet, originally produced in 1966 under Bernard Nevill, who was the design director at the time. If you want to know more about him, I've put a link down in the description below. And it's described as a dynamic depiction of tulips, daffodils and daisies with expressive brushstrokes. I think it's absolutely beautiful. You can imagine a really great sort of high summer occasion dress in this print, and I particularly like the colourway with the pink, paler pink flowers and the almost teal coloured petals in it, and the yellow highlight. I think that's probably my absolute favourite. Okay, coming up next is a print called Madeleine, and if you did see my previous video, you might remember this. I picked out 3 or 4 of my favourites, and this was one of them. I just think it's absolutely typical. It's a 1930s design. You can imagine it in a tea dress, make a lovely slip dress or a robe or a bias skirt, even a cami. It's called Madeleine after Madeleine Lawrence, who was a designer from the Silver Studio in the 1930s. And Silver Studio is very interesting. It's a design studio who are quite prolific producers of prints, and they designed for Liberty amongst other people. And I've put a link down below. I think it's a wiki link to Silver Studio, so you can read a bit more about them, because it's just really interesting to find out about all these different aspects. And in fact today, sort of going in and looking at these prints individually, you find out more of the history, which is why this collection's, I think it's just really, well, I think it's really, really interesting. Okay, and next from the cast act is Lindsay Legacy, and I think this is absolutely beautiful. So it's a large-scale poppy print. It was designed originally, the original was designed in 1901 by Lindsay Butterfield, so hence the name Lindsay Legacy. But it's kind of been updated with this sort of textual digital print in the leaves and the stems that you can see. 3 lovely colourways there to show you. Quite a large scale print, I think. Really, really beautiful. So that is the last print from the cast act. Okay, so just one from the audience act, and it is called Floral Muse. And this is a nod to Liberty's Art Nouveau revival back in the 1960s, and it features hand-drawn poppies, daisies, sunflowers, irises and tulips, and is supposed to celebrate, and it does celebrate, the characterful and lively Liberty shopper. But I really like, I've put a section of the design on this infographic, and then you can see, I believe, what is the width, so you can see the repeat. And I particularly like this, the sort of the repeat, which is quite sort of stylized. I don't know whether that's the right word, but I particularly like that, along with a sort of hand painterly sort of quality to it. I think it's lovely. Then finally on to the next act, and to really, really interesting prints. I'm just trying to get them up in front of me, and the first one we're going to look at, is called Avalon Scenes. So Liberty approached a designer, well, he's actually an artist and musician called Tom Furze, and he creates artwork with AI, and I believe that's what he did here. So you've got this kind of surreal landscape morphing with flower forms, basically, and you've got a small section, and then you can see the repeat. So sort of quite from a surrealist, I suppose, but appropriate for the next act, that they should have a print generated with AI, I believe. So I think that was quite interesting. And then finally, and I really like this print, this is from the next act, and it's called Glitch. So you've got a section of it there, and then you can see the repeat again. I quote, "Celebrates the ephemeral moment when technology momentarily falters." You know, like when you get a glitch on your computer. I wouldn't describe that as ephemeral, but each to their own. This is the future of new designers experimenting with art and technology. I think it's beautiful. It's kind of like a kind of digital ICAT design. It reminds me of ICAT designs a bit. Really, really like it. Love all 3 colourways, actually. Absolutely beautiful. So those are the prints that you chose from the previous video. I'm going to put a link to the previous video. I'll put as many links as I can that relate to the things that I've been talking about. The links to Silver Studio, about Archibald Knox, etc., and the link to Liberty's website, so you can go and look at the prints in more detail yourself. I hope you found that interesting. They were ones you chose, after all, so you should do. Please don't forget to tell us if you have actually made something in fabric from the collection, or you're planning to. We'd love to hear that. So please like, share and subscribe. And my voice is about to go, so I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you on Sunday. Bye.